Hello, I'm Sarah Diggines, and I am studying at the University of Warwick, and the course I am studying is Global Sustainable Development. I'll say GSD for short because it can be a bit of a mouthful to say all the time. Um, so I decided to study at the University of Warwick because of this course, the GSD course. As when I was doing IB in geography, I was really interested in sustainability, learning about development of societies and all of those aspects. And so I chose this course because it fit the best. But initially, I actually didn't know what I wanted to study. So I took a bit of a gap year. And so I'll share my experience with that and my course now. In this call. So first, I'll talk a bit about the course structure at the moment. So the GSD course is actually really interesting and that it's a very broad and interdisciplinary course. So we have our core modules, and this year in first year, we have three core modules, which are economic principles, social principles, and environmental principles, and they are very like general overviews of those topics, assuming that you have never had experience in that before, so that you can get a bit of insight, find what your interests are. And then you have what's really interesting is you have a lot of optional modules if you take GSD single honors. So with that, you can actually take modules from any department at the University of Warwick. So that can be, you can do psychology, you can do an English course, you can do a theater course, you can do languages. And so what I'm doing is I did a liberal arts course on qualitative research methods. I've done I'm doing as well a language course, so I'm continuing German, and I'm doing a module on living with water, so about water scarcity and resource management. And I think they're really interesting, which is really great because I can cater my degree completely to my interests. And that's what I really love about the course so far. In terms of how classes and all of that are structured, we have typically we have a lecture per module, and seminars as well. For me at the moment, my lectures are all on a Monday. So I have a very busy Monday going from one lecture to the next. I have from, I believe, 10 until 3 nonstop. So it is a bit more challenging than last term. Last term it was much nicer, but they were spread out a bit more. But most of the time I have seminars, which are just small groups like normal classes, and you have a bit of reading beforehand, which I think is what I spend most of my time on, actually, just doing the reading before. And so that's how the course is like actually structured in terms of learning time. Um, for assessments and all of that, we have a lot of group projects, and I find that really great because you can look at all of your interests uh, and work with people from a whole bunch of different backgrounds, from a whole different countries and all of that, and just see what happens and already explore what you like. And that's at University of Warwick, it's really rare that you have that many research opportunities in your first year. So we've already had a chance to do archive research. We've looked at the library. We've done a few interviews already. And we have now currently a big project which we're working on. And you have a general theme. You pick whatever topic you want, and it can be a completely unresearched topic, and you can work on it from first year. So that's really interesting for me, is that I can have this opportunity to find my interests further. Um, so I guess that would also answer the question about what I like most about my course. I like that I have the freedom of choice. I can quite literally make it what I want it to be and focus on what I want, which is quite different to school. Obviously, you have to take 6 IB subjects. But here I just do everything that I like. And for life outside of university, I would say it's pretty good because we have a lot of societies here at Warwick. And there's basically anything for everyone. As well as there's a town or a small city as well, about 20 minutes away, and that has like a big shopping street. It's very student oriented. So there's lots going on all the time. You have your cafes, you have bars, you have clubs for anyone who likes that. There's never a time there's nothing going on at campus. So it's very busy, and you can definitely have quite an active social life at university with the academic sides of it as well. Um, so I'm also living in student accommodation at the moment, and this is because Warwick offers this. It depends on the university you go to. Some of them do offer it, some of them don't. Warwick does. So what I would recommend is you look as soon as possible at university once you've applied. You see whether accommodation is offered, look at your options, start applying if you can, because sometimes they go quickly. Um, but it's actually, for me, it's quite good, the accommodation that I'm in, even if it wasn't perhaps my first choice. I'm really close to the shops. There are 17 rooms on this floor, but I think there's only 14 people at the moment, and we all share a kitchen and bathroom. So it's a real communal sort of living, but it's really nice. Outside, it's big open green spaces because this accommodation, unlike the others, isn't central campus. So I'm a 10-minute bike ride away, um, which is great because, like I said, we have nice green open spaces and it's really quiet. Um, One thing I would say though is at university, if yours is guaranteed for first year but not for second year, probably good idea to find some future flatmates and look at accommodation options for second year as soon as you can because they do go quickly. So that's probably a good for first year students is find your next year's accommodation as soon as you can. Now for the application process, I've done several applications both to the UK, well, the Netherlands and Germany, but I'll focus on the UK ones. So we use UCAS, and like any normal application, you put in all of your educational background. You add a personal statement. So in that personal statement, you really want to include the things that you've done sort of specific to you. So any clubs that you've joined, any volunteer experience that you've done, to really like sell yourself in terms of like academic achievements, but also like your interests. So let them know if you've done a project before, um, and really say why you're suited to study there. And then you send that off and you'll get an email response whether you got an offer, and you just accept it with the deadlines. But on that note, make sure that you have your deadlines saved and all of that so that you don't miss any of them because they are important and you don't want to miss any of those. Um, Before, if I had to do any preparation for this course, I didn't actually have to do anything material wise. I would recommend though, if there is a handbook that you can read, go and read the handbook, even if it is a bit of a boring, tedious read. It's quite helpful. It tells you everything you need to know about like how things are marked, what sort of things you can expect, basically. So you have a bit of a information background. Some universities do offer pre-reading lists, and you can find those probably on their website if you want to take a look at them, just for interest's sake or just to see what you'll be looking at. The next question is asking me about the challenges that I faced when I moved to the UK. And I wouldn't say that there were very many challenges. I would probably say it was a bit different moving from living with my family to all of a sudden being in a new country at university, trying to do everything for myself now. But it's actually been quite good. I adapted quickly, thankfully, because Warwick is campus university, so I can get around and everything's where I need it to be. I don't have to go too far. But just settling in for your first few weeks, that tends to be the difficult bit because you're new to everything, but so is everyone else. So you'll just sort of find friends and figure it out as you go, which is part of the fun. Now I'll move on to my gap year. I did a gap year before I went to university, and I worked at MSF with the ALN department as a teaching assistant. And I mainly worked in the German department because they needed a lot of help then. So I was in lessons, helping students, helping the teachers, just answering questions, providing guidance. And the reason I did a gap year at MSF with the ALN department is because, like I said, I didn't know what I wanted to study before. So I was actually considering possibly doing psychology, but I wasn't too sure myself. So I went there to the ALN department to learn from the team there. And that gave me time to explore my options a bit more. I could look at different universities, different courses. And through that, I just learned that I'm interested in psychology, but I didn't see myself really studying it full time. So that just sort of eased any doubt that I had that geography was probably the better route for me to go. And then for the skills that I acquired in, as you can imagine, it was quite a different perspective that I gained. I went from a student to all of a sudden being a teaching assistant. And it's two very different sides of the same coin. So I had to learn to be a bit more attentive to problems and problem solving, helping students and how to apply the knowledge that I've gained from that to now. So the way that I go about problem solving, I can now use it at university and be like, okay, I'm struggling with this. What advice would I give to someone else who was doing this? And then just sort of redirect it back to myself. Obviously, as well, communication is quite key. You're working with people who have very different backgrounds, who learn differently. And this is extremely useful, I would say, for the projects that I'm doing now, because everyone else has different educational backgrounds, different cultural backgrounds. And that's helped quite a lot right now to make just project work so much easier. And I would say that that whole gap year experience has actually made me feel a lot more confident in my decision to study GSD at Warwick. I'm secure in the choice that I've made, the subject wise, and it's been really good for me. I've enjoyed it a bit. Surely there's some topics where I'm a little bit not too happy to look at. They not quite my interests, but you'll get that with every subject. But I did want to say that you shouldn't let taking a gap year dissuade you from applying to prestigious universities. So you can take a gap year and go to some prestigious universities as long as you apply yourself properly and you do some sort of skill or character development in your gap year. And it can be quite helpful as well. So it's not the be all and end all. Now for just general advice about university applications. Like I said, I decided what I wanted to study because I had the extra time to research. I was going between psychology, English, and geography. Psychology, I eliminated through my gap year, but the English bit, I was actually considering whether I really wanted to study that or whether it was more like a hobby interest. And I think that's a good thing to ask yourself when you're applying to universities and for courses is whether you want to study this because you liked it or whether you want to keep it as a hobby if you're torn between courses. So I think that would be some good advice. And then just narrow it down to, like, if you want to study in a specific country, then narrow it down that way. Just bring down your options as much as you can. That would be probably my best advice. So yeah, I had more time in the gap year to consider all of this. And the way that I went about looking at universities was probably not what everyone does. I made a big spreadsheet. I broke it down to countries. I broke it down into courses. And I just got as much information as I could to make the best decision. So I asked for brochures. I attended open days online. I asked family members and friends who knew someone who was studying this degree. Just really getting as much as I can so that I could make an informed choice. What I would say as a thing to keep in mind when you're applying is look for scholarships and apply for those as well. So actually at the moment I have the Warwick Global Excellence Scholarship, which I was able to apply for my university, for my course as well. And I think that scholarship is actually for any degree. And what you had to do was you had to write another essay about what makes you excellent, which is a bit of a difficult question to answer sometimes. So just apply for any scholarship that you have, because I mean, everything will help. And yeah, so for IB now, how has it helped me with university? So I think IB has been very helpful in terms of that. It helped me become quite organized and good with time management and just applying myself to work individually. So you gain a lot of independence in IB, which is very important for university because you don't have that much time with lecturers, with teachers, and that you're just doing a lot of independent work. So the difference then as well is obviously less time in the lecture. You're learning yourself, but you're not that much busier, I would say. You still have seminar preps to do and all that, but you have quite a bit of free time. And the stuff that you're learning, I wouldn't say, at least for me, it hasn't been too much different from IB geography, which is great because there's things that I've done before and I understand the concepts. And so there's not too big of a gap between learning at MSF, doing the IB and university. And they pair quite well, they move on. For the advice that I would give is for IB, I would rather focus on understanding the material rather than memorizing everything, because once you understand the core concepts of material, the details will sort of fall into place for you. And if you don't understand something, talk to your friends, talk to teachers, ask questions in class. Like, don't hold back because you really don't have anything to lose from asking and understanding. But also just keep organized, have deadlines on your calendars, email reminders. You do not need to miss any EE deadlines or anything. Yeah, so in my gap year as well, I also had the opportunity to be the vice president of the Alumni Association for the first year. So that was a very interesting experience, mainly because the role was also quite new. So we were trying to figure everything out as we went, and thankfully it worked out quite well, and we've done a really great job of it, I think. And it worked well. And what I really liked about that is we got to come up with some cool ideas like this, the alumni talks and everything, which I wish I had when I was in IB and didn't know what I wanted to do. But it's been really interesting to hear everyone else's stories and their perspectives and seeing the similarities and differences. And I hope that they really help the students. So the experiences that it taught me, I think it really reinforced the idea of like communication is key. You need to maintain networks. You need to work as a team to really make something work. And well, I already knew that, but it brought that to the forefront again. It put in the spotlight. Yeah. And the last question that I have here is, what do I miss most about MSF? And after some thinking, I think what I really miss is the sort of the classroom and group dynamics. Because I was at MSF for so long and I was with all my classmates and all that for so long, I just knew what worked, how things were. But now I'm in a new environment, obviously, and everything is still developing. It's really great to be here because I get to make new friends. Everyone else has got different experiences, as I've said. So building that has been quite fun, but I miss being able to just have that from the go already. But yeah, that would be my thing.